Did you hear that? That shattering sound. It did not come from outside. It came from deep within you on the day you realized you had been betrayed. We have always had it wrong. We think that when someone turns their back on us, the thing that truly breaks inside is our trust. But what if I told you that is not the whole truth? Trust can be rebuilt. But there is something else, something more foundational, that has been fractured. Something that, if not healed correctly, will forever change the way you see the world, the people around you, and even the way you see yourself. So, the central question we will explore together over the next 30 minutes is this. When you are betrayed, what truly shatters inside you is not trust. So what is it? And how can God's Word heal that profound crack? Welcome to the podcast. I am your host. Key point 1, the theater of pain. Come back with me to that moment. You do not have to relive the details. Just feel it. That icy coldness spreading from your chest. Your throat tightens. Your mind races with 1,000 whys. You replay the film of memory in your mind, trying to find a clue, a sign you missed. That feeling is not just sadness. It is humiliation. The feeling of being a fool. The feeling of not being good enough. This is the first stage of betrayal. A dark theater where you are the sole audience member, forced to watch the play of your own pain over and over again. Anger erupts like a fire, scorching everything, and when the flames die down, all that is left are the ashes of bitterness. You tell yourself, I will never trust anyone again. A vow born from pain. But is that vow protecting you, or is it building a prison around your heart? This pain does not just come from their actions. It comes from the meaning we assign to those actions. Key point 2, the story in the pit. Let us leave your stage for a moment. I want to take you to an arid desert, thousands of years ago. Picture a young man named Joseph, a boy with big dreams, deeply loved by his father. But that very love became a thorn in his brother's side. One day, they strip him of his vibrant coat, the symbol of his father's favor, and they threw him into an empty cistern. Imagine that feeling. The darkness envelopes him. The air is damp and cold. From above, he can hear the voices of his brothers, his own flesh and blood, debating whether to sell him like property or leave him to die. The betrayal here was not just a lie. It was a knife to the heart of his family, his brotherhood. Joseph had every reason to be bitter, every reason to plot revenge, every reason for his heart to turn to stone. But his story does not end in that pit. Here is a crucial clue. Healing does not begin when the betrayer apologizes. It begins when you are at the bottom of the pit. What went through Joseph's mind in that moment? We will come back to him later. Key point 3, the shattered mirror. When we look in a mirror, we see our reflection. Many of us, unconsciously, use the loyalty of others as the mirror that defines our own self-worth. He loves me, which means I am lovable. She trusts me, which means I am trustworthy. They are my best friends, which means I am not alone. And then, betrayal happens. That mirror shatters. And suddenly, your reflection is distorted, fragmented. You have not just lost a relationship. You feel like you have lost a part of your own value. The seismic shock of betrayal does not just shake the foundation of the relationship. It shakes the very foundation of the self. Do you see? The problem is deeper than we thought. We do not just hurt because we were deceived. We hurt because of the way that deception makes us doubt ourselves. And this is where God's Word begins the healing journey. King David, a great king, also tasted the bitterness of betrayal from his own son, Absalom. In the Psalms he wrote, he never hid his pain. He cried out, He wept, he questioned God. Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? Psalm 3 verse 1. David did not try to glue the shattered mirror back together. Instead, he brought all the broken pieces before God. Key point 4. The ultimate betrayal and the ultimate response. Now, join me in a garden. The Garden of Gethsemane. It is late at night. The dew is cold. A man is praying, his sweat falling like drops of blood. It is Jesus. He knows what is about to happen. And then, a crowd appears with swords and torches. Leading them is Judas, one of his 12 most trusted disciples. Judas approaches him and places a kiss on his master cheek. This is the ultimate betrayal. An act of love twisted into the signal for a death sentence. Think about what Jesus could have done. He could have called legions of angels. He could have exposed Judas' hypocrisy in front of everyone. He could have unleashed his righteous anger. But he says one simple thing: "Friend, do what you came for." Why? Why was he so calm? Because Jesus' mirror was not made of Judas' loyalty. His mirror, the place where he saw his worth and identity, was his Father in heaven. The betrayal of man could not shatter that mirror. It could not chip away at his identity as the Son of God, who came to redeem mankind. His mission was greater than the pain of his betrayal. Key point 5. Closing the loop, the real crack. We have walked through the theater of pain, descended into the pit with Joseph, witnessed the shattering of our own mirror, and stood in the Garden of Gethsemane. It is time to answer the question we asked at the beginning. When you are betrayed, the thing that truly breaks inside you is not your trust in others. It is your faith in the perfect script you had written for your own life. It is a script where the people you love will never hurt you. A script where loyalty is always rewarded. A script where you are in control. Betrayal does not just tear a page from your book. It rips the pen from your hand and screams in your face, "You are not the author of this story." And that, my friends, is the deepest crack. The loss of control. The shattering of the illusion that we can build a perfectly safe life based on the perfection of other people. Joseph was healed, not when he met his brothers again, but when he realized that even in the worst betrayal, God's hand was writing a bigger story. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Genesis 50 verse 20. Jesus was unshaken because he was never holding the pen in the first place. He always let his Father write the story. True healing is not about trying to glue back your lost trust. It is about having the courage to put down the pen and trust the great author of the universe. It is about giving him the shattered pieces of the script you wrote and letting him weave them into a beautiful mosaic you could never have imagined. So, what is your first step today? It is not to try and forgive immediately. That is a process. The first step is simply to surrender. Find a quiet place. Close your eyes. And say to God, "God, my script is broken. I thought I was in control, but I was wrong. Today, I am handing the pen back to you. Please write my story, even with these painful chapters." The crack inside you is not an endpoint. In God's hands, it is the very place where His light can shine through most powerfully. Thank you for listening. If today's message resonated with you, please share it with someone who might also need to hear it. And do not forget to subscribe so you can join me as we explore other deep stories of faith and life. Until next time, remember, you are not the author, but you are the main character in a story far grander than you can ever imagine. Goodbye for now. Some silences are more terrifying than any storm. Have you ever sat in a room with the people you love most, yet the space grows so thick and heavy it feels like the very air has turned to lead? That is the most haunting memory of my childhood. Sunday dinner. The year I turned 10. There were no arguments. No shouting. Just the tick-tock of the grandfather clock in the corner, the sporadic clink of cutlery, and a silence that felt completely shattered. That night, my father placed a small, worn wooden box on the table. He said nothing, just looked deep into my eyes and pushed it toward me. And that was the last time my family ever truly had dinner together. For 20 years, one question has followed me. What was really inside that wooden box? What could cause a warm, loving family to turn into strangers under the same roof, all after a single silent meal? For 20 years, one question has followed me. What was really inside that wooden box? What could cause a warm, loving family to turn into strangers under the same roof, all after a single silent meal? Welcome back to the Root of Healing. I am your host. Over the next 30 minutes, we will not just be opening that wooden box. Together, we are going to decode a much greater mystery, the formula for mending the deepest rifts in a family, based on principles that seem ancient yet are surprisingly powerful. Stay with me until the end, because the answer might just change the way you see the word family forever. After that fateful dinner, laughter disappeared from our house. My father buried himself in work. My mother found solace in her small garden. My siblings and I, like planets knocked from their orbits, drifted further and further apart. The wooden box, I put it away. I was afraid of it. It felt like evidence of a collapse I simply could not comprehend. For years, I tried to make sense of it. Was it about money? Was some secret exposed? Or had love simply run out? I asked my mother once, but she just sighed, her eyes gazing distantly out the window. Some things, she said, cannot be captured by words, my dear. That was my first clue, the inadequacy of words. Some wounds are so deep that words cannot reach them. In fact, they can sometimes make them bleed even more. So if not words, what can possibly heal? When lost at sea, ancient mariners did not look at the chaotic waves in front of them. They looked to the stars. On my journey to find family harmony, I decided to do the same. I turned to ancient texts, to wisdom that has stood the test of millennia. Specifically, the Bible. When lost at sea, ancient mariners did not look at the chaotic waves in front of them. They looked to the stars. On my journey to find family harmony, I decided to do the same. I turned to ancient texts, to wisdom that has stood the test of millennia. Specifically, the Bible. Now, you may not be a person of faith, but hear me out. Think of these teachings as an ancient map of human psychology, filled with profound insights. And the first principle I found was in the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. But wait, that seemed to contradict my first clue. My family was silent. There were no harsh words, so why did that invisible wrath still erupt and burn everything to the ground? I realized the problem is not just about what is said. It is also about what is left unsaid. My family's silence was not gentle. It was a silence filled with judgment. Come back with me to that dinner table. Close your eyes and imagine me, a 10-year-old boy, looking at my father. I saw a cold, distant man. His eyes met no one's. In my mind, I had already convicted him. Father does not love us anymore. My mother, sitting there quietly serving food. She did not look at my father. She did not look at us. The trial in my head continued. Mother is so weak. Why does she not do something? And me, sitting there in fear. I convicted myself. What did I do wrong? Do you see? Not a single word was spoken. but a full-blown trial was underway inside each of our minds. We were the judge, the prosecutor, and the accused all at once. We judged each other's actions through the lens of our own hurt and fear. And this is where the second principle emerges from the book of Matthew, chapter 7. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. This teaching is not some hollow moral command. It is a psychological key, because when we stop judging, we finally create the space to observe. Years later, I was talking to my uncle, and he gave me the missing piece. He said, "Did you know that the very same week the company your father poured his entire life into went bankrupt?" Boom! My entire worldview shattered. I had always seen my father as a cold, angry man. But what if it was not anger? What if it was shame? Failure? The agony of a man who had no idea how to tell his family he had lost everything? Join me one last time at that dinner table. But this time, let us sit in my father chair. You look at the beautiful meal before you, but all you taste is ash. You hear the voices of your wife and children, but all you hear are the taunts of your business partners. You want to speak, to scream, "I am sorry, I failed." But pride, the fear of disappointing your family, locks your throat. Your silence is not a weapon. It is a shield hiding a broken heart. And the wooden box, it was not a farewell. It was the last thing he had left from his own father woodshop. It was an unspoken message. This is all I have left. Our heritage, our roots. Please do not forget. Do you see? The moment I stopped judging and started seeking to understand, the entire story changed. What I had perceived as coldness was actually unspoken pain. What I saw as distance was actually helplessness. This is the third principle, the very core of all healing. Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 32. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. Forgiveness. But you cannot forgive someone you do not truly understand. And you cannot understand them as long as you are still judging them. After that conversation with my uncle, I went home. For the first time in 20 years, I went looking for the wooden box. There it was, at the bottom of a wardrobe, covered in a layer of dust. My hands were shaking. Was I ready? Ready to face the truth I had avoided for so long? I took a deep breath. Inside there was no gold, no secret letters, nothing valuable in the traditional sense. There were only three things: a smooth, rounded river stone, a single pressed maple leaf, and a tiny black and white photograph, its corners yellowed with age. I was stunned. This was it. This was the answer to my family tragedy. A rock, a leaf, and a photo. I was disappointed. I felt like I had just completed a long, arduous journey only to find the treasure was a practical joke. But then I picked up the photograph. In the picture was my father, then just a little boy, sitting on my grandfather's shoulders. They were both beaming. And behind them was a giant maple tree next to a stream filled with river stones. And suddenly, I understood. The stone, the leaf, the photo. They were not just objects. They were pieces of a memory of my father's happiest place, a place where he was just a boy protected by his own father. The box did not contain the reason for our breaking. It held a cry for help. It was my father's message in his most desperate hour, saying, "Remember the man I used to be. Remember where we come from. Remember that the love is still here, even if it is buried under the rubble of my life." And that, my friends, is when the cycle of judgment was broken. Instead of seeing my father through the eyes of an abandoned child, I saw him through the eyes of a grown man who could finally see his own father's pain. I did not say much that day. I just brought the wooden box to him, set it down and made him a pot of tea. I only said one thing: I remember this place. Dad, tell me about Grandpa. And for the first time in 20 years, my father cried. And he talked. He talked about his failures, his fears, the burdens he had carried alone in silence. And we, as a family, listened. Without judgment. Only understanding. Harmony did not return in a day. It is a process. But the seed was planted. A seed of empathy watered with compassion and forgiveness. So what was the secret in the wooden box? It was not an object. It was a perspective. It is the reminder that behind every cold action, every sharp word, every terrifying silence, there is often a story of pain we do not see. The formula for restoring family harmony, based on these ancient principles, is not a set of rigid doctrines. It is a powerful three-step process. 1. Stop judging. End the trial happening in your head. 2. Seek to understand. Try to step into the other person's shoes. Look for the story behind their actions. 3. Offer forgiveness and compassion. This is not weakness. This is the ultimate strength that breaks the chains of resentment. Every family has its silent dinners, its forgotten wooden boxes. Your job is not to run from them. Your job is to have the courage to face them, not to find out who was right and who was wrong, but to find the love that has been buried. This week, I have a small challenge for you. Think of one relationship in your family that feels strained. Instead of thinking about what they did wrong to you, spend just 5 minutes trying to imagine, what pain might they be going through that I do not see? Just 5 minutes. You do not have to do anything else. Just shift your perspective. Because healing does not start with an apology. It starts with a moment of empathy. Thank you for listening to The Root of Healing. I am your host. I wish you a week of true peace, right inside your own home.